It's really got to be drilled. When we talk about a low single leg,
so Tazhudinov's hand fight system is, one, it's pretty simple, but I don't know if I would necessarily even recommend it to people who either aren't built like him, as in tall and very lengthy, long arms, long legs, or if you don't like people touching your legs, then I wouldn't necessarily recommend hand fighting like him, right? So these first few we're going to look at, they're not necessarily that crazy. They're pretty standard. He likes to be in space. So one of the things he'll do is forehead post to keep space, little fakes. He does a ton of these, just little foot fakes, just to make the guy react a little bit, and check forehead to keep his distance. Right, so pretty simple. There was a little fake there, just small little level changes, small one there, and he's back out now. He is not often in a what most people would consider a good stance. It's because he doesn't care if people get to his legs. So his level change probably looks a lot lower than normal because he's normally standing up so tall. But again, I don't know if I would necessarily even recommend doing that. But I really like all these little foot fakes he throws in, forehead checks, and then clears the space when he needs to. So here we got guy squeezing tight on collar, and he'll clear collar a couple ways. This first one, he'll catch wrist and push it off. All right, and he's back into his fakes and then moving. Clears hooks. If he wants to get in the space, he clears everything. But most of the time, he doesn't even let guys get hooks that often. Here we're going to see him catch the guy's hands. Guy's hands come up, just grabs wrist, pushes him forward, rolls him down, and then fakes. Almost every time he clears, he fakes. And what this does is this essentially, well, we saw the off balance there. Watch this guy's feet. Faking every time he clears balances his attack. Right, so one of his attacks he does is a double leg from space. So whenever he clears and fakes, the guy has to respect it because sometimes he shoots and sometimes he doesn't. So the times he doesn't, he will normally attack. So let's take a look at that. So here's the first example of him attacking out of one of his hand fights. Nice little double leg on one of the best in the world. So, okay. His head's being controlled. He refuses to ever let somebody hang on his head for very long. Right? So, at least on his right side. His left side, he does something different. But on this right side, his left side, their right hand collar, his left side, he never lets a guy just stay on there. So, he's going to do his wrist clear. So, his hand opens up, goes toward the forearm or wrist, pushes it off, and now as he clears, like we saw before, he normally fakes, but this time when he level changes, he shoots. And this, like I said, balances his fake and attack ratios. And allows him to get a guy's legs, right? So clears, does wrist push, and then attacks. And I'm sure during most of this match, he was clearing and faking and clearing and faking and clearing and faking, so that at some point he's able to shoot and get to the guy's legs. So as I mentioned earlier, his stance is pretty high, and It's because he doesn't care if guys get to his legs, because he scores a ton of points from his defense. So with his hand fight, one of these things these fakes will do is kind of bait the guy into attacking his fake, which you see every now and then from some of these high-level guys. So again, steps and fakes, and this guy's going to try and follow back in. And we see him pull away, backing up. Like, again, not ideal defensive position, but again, he doesn't care if the guy touches his legs. Right? So, guy gets to his legs and ends up getting pinned because of it in the World Finals. So, some of this this first section was in space. So he's going to clear with wrist push, get back to space. He'll fake to stay in space, and he'll head post to keep his space. All right, so that's kind of the first part of his hand fight. If he ends up pretty close on a collar tie on his left side, he'll use like an elbow pass to clear most often. So before, he kind of stayed in more space, was able to catch hands early or fake or head post to keep them away. Here, the opponent will start to get a little closer and tie up his head almost ear to ear. And he'll use an elbow pass, collar clear, to get back into space so he can reset his hand fight system. It's a pretty simple little collar clear here. Got tricep control, elbow control, and when he goes to clear, he's going to level change, drop his chin to his chest so the guy's hand slides off his head, right? So the guy's squeezing down. There's pressure down on your head. If you drop your chin to your chest, their hand will slide right off. And he's back into space. A little fake. Catches the hand, little fake. Little fake. Fake again. Fake, and then attack. Right? So, again, fakes a bunch. And then attacks when he sees his opening. And that's probably just an experience and timing thing of doing it a ton. He's also got super long arms, so it's really hard for him to miss their legs. Here's another elbow pass from the other side. This guy's got a tight collar tie. We're going to see his chin drop as he clears. Circles away. And then little fake. Right? So far, the hand fight system is pretty simple. It's stay in space, head post like that, fake to keep them off balance, and balance your leg attack versus fake ratio, and then catch their hands if they come close. If not, elbow pass to clear. Here, guy's got collar tie and hook. He's going to clear both. Again, same kind of elbow pass. He never really attacks directly off his elbow pass, but sometimes he will clear, reset, and then go. Nice little fakes. Elbow pass is pretty early here. Circles out. All right, so the concepts here are pretty simple. He's clearing collar tie, getting back to space. One last time. Shoop. Drops chin. Hand slides off. Then tries to catch hand again, right? Because he likes this distance. He doesn't want to be super close. When he does decide he wants to tie up, it's almost always right hand overtie, left hand wrist. As close to that as possible. See these little fakes, and he'll put the guy's hand on his head, and then look for this little slide by attack, which is his other attack he does. So he double legs, and he does this slide by attack most often. Right hand overtie, left hand wrist. And, you don't really have to convince the other wrestler to have inside position. It's kind of a standard thing that everyone tends to learn, is like it's typically better to be inside than it is to be over top, especially. But like I said at the beginning, this dude is kind of an anomaly with the way he is able to wrestle. His stance is super high. His head is typically above his opponent's, and his arm comes over top a lot, right? And again, it's because of how good his defense is. And another piece that we're going to look at later with his arm being over top, it allows guys to underhook him really easy, which he doesn't mind being an overhook. But here, I mean, this is kind of the home base. He's right hand over top, left hand wrist. And again, there's not a ton of work you have to do to get here because most guys prefer to have inside position when they wrestle. Right, so he just kind of leaves his elbow out a little bit, reaches up for the head, and is able to get his position right away. So, again, little fakes, all part of his hand fight system in space. When he decides to close the gap, looks for this wrist. And then here, they've got both wrists, or both hands, and he's going to put Tazhudinov's hand actually on his head. So there you go, and then goes right over top. You see his hand on this backside. And then he looks for his little slide-by attempt. Pretty standard kind of slide-by with Overtie. Again, he's got long arms, so it's probably easier for him. I'm not going to look a whole lot at the attack. Just look at kind of some of this hand placement. He will also use this to like clear back into space sometimes. Here, I think he just misses, right? As he goes. Yeah, he just misses the leg, but sometimes he'll use it as another way to get back into space. Here we're going to see a pretty clean one. Again, don't have to do much convincing to get an overtie. He just reaches up and gets it. Does this nice little slide by. The only difference here really is he attacks the forearm, where, at least when I was taught, you go like hand under their elbow, but the dude gets it to work. So, good on him. And here's kind of the transition, just one last time. Again, not a whole lot of convincing. He actually just grabs the guy's hand, puts it up on his head, says, okay, yeah. Goes overtie. Does his slide by, and this time he's going to attack the leg. All right, so pretty simple little hand fight series. Typically wants to be in space, and if not, he wants to be overtie. This last little piece we're going to look at, I would call it like the 1% of his hand fight, where he kind of gets into an overhook position. And again, he doesn't mind being there because his defense is super good. And he's tall, which helps when you have a good overhook. You can pull guys up a lot easier. And then things like that happen. Here's one situation where he got into his overhook and ends up taking the guy to his back. There's another one where he goes double overs and trips the guy to his back. Again, I wouldn't call it like a main thing he does, but he's definitely not afraid to be in an overhook. So, and like I said, this goes with his defense and the way his overtie is. His elbow's out, makes it really easy for the opponent to punch a hook. All right, so again, not a place he like really wants to be, but if it goes there, it's not really an issue for him. So again, another hook, and just overhooks it back. And then in this clip, we're going to see where it ends up being to his advantage. So goes hook, and then goes overhook as he attacks and is able to use his height to pull the guy up and kick him through. Just like that. All right. So again, I don't know if I would consider that as any kind of main point to his hand fight, but it fits in the fact that with his arm being up and over so much, it allows the guy to get underhooks pretty easy. And then he has to be comfortable there, which he is. All right, so that's pretty much his hand fight in a nutshell. In space, fake, head post, catch hands. really close, clear collar. If you want to tie up, overtie, wrist, and that's kind of it. It's pretty simple.